Hello and welcome to lesson 2 of week 20. In this lesson we are going to look at routing using Flask. My name is Mildred. In the last lesson we created our first Flask app and I showed you how to activate your virtual environment and how to run your development server. It is not in every case that the method we have used in the first lesson will work, and most of the time you will have to add flags to your path, and one way to do that, or the best way to run your development server, is for you to just export the Flask app and the name of the app or the environment. Let's say export, and I want to export Flask underscore env, and I'll say is equal to, let's say, development, and then I'm going to do Flask run. So this is the best way to actually start up your server. The Flask run is not working, so I want to use Flask app. So I want you to see the different ways. Now it's difficult to tell you exactly what will work and what will not work on your system, but as we go deeper, we're going to set up our environment in such a way that it will be uniform across systems. So we have a file called index.py. So let's say I want to export this Flask app equal to index.py, and I'm going to put this in lowercase later, and then I'm going to now use the mflag to run, which will now be Python, then the mflag Flask run, and then this time we have our server started. So except if the port is blocked or is already in use, you won't have any problem. If the port is already in use, you're going to have an OS error, and then you can research online, look for documentations to read about how to debug the kind of errors that you encounter. So this is just like a review of the last lesson. The method we used in the last lesson is not going to be always the method that will work for your system. So there are different debugging ways, and I want you to research them depending on your difficulties and document what works for your system. So these are development setups. You don't set up your application like this for production. And so when we get to the advanced course where we do deployments, then we're going to look at production deployment and how to deploy for environments. So we're going to look at how to make sure that our changes apply at every point we make change. It just detects the change and it runs. So let's go back to routing, and then let's look at how to do this. By the way, when you want to set this up for a Windows system, you don't use export Flask, you change export to set here. So when you see exports for Windows, you put set. So that is one thing you should know. We also saw in the last lesson that we used the route decorator to bind a function to a URL, and this function index is called when the root route or the index is selected. We want to do something else. Let's say we want to have another route or another endpoint. You can call them routes or endpoints. You also say add app.route, and I want this to be called, let's say, profile. We want to get the profile of the person, and I want to now have def profile, and I want to return hello world or profile page, something like that. So the profile page is just a placeholder for what will actually render when a user hits this endpoint profile. We can also have something like passing other parameters to the endpoint. Let's say we want to pass a variable name to make it more dynamic, and so we can say add app.profile and want to get a particular profile of a particular user and not the list of all profiles, and then we'll now get the profile username, and then we'll pass this to return the username of the person. So we're creating different routes or different endpoints, and I'm going to explain them. But we want to have another one that specifies the data type. Let's say we want to get the age of a particular user. We'll do that. We see int age, and so we define this and we get it like this. So let's go over this again. When we create endpoints, when we create the different routes, and we want this route to be bound to a function, we use the decorator, and whenever we hit that endpoint, so whenever the user is at the home page, it goes to hello and goodbye. When the user is on the profile page, it returns the profile page. And when the user selects profile and the specified username, which is going to be a variable that will be passed to the path parameter, it is going to now display the profile page of that user that was specified there. We can also specify a type. Let's say we want to get the user name of the user, and we also want to get the age, and we'll specify that the age is an int, and so it's going to return it like this. And so this is how we do routing. It will not make so much sense now, but I want you to understand the pattern of associating a route decorator to a function that is called when that endpoint is hit by a user. Now, another thing you want to take note of is I'm going to create a different kind of route or endpoint. Let's say I have this endpoint that says /courses like this, right? And we define courses and return the courses, let's say course listing. Then we'll have another endpoint that is, let me think of one, let's say about, so /app.route. And we want to get to the about page, so it's /about. And what this does is to bind the function of about to return the about page. Now take note of how this redirection behaves. When I have these courses and I put a trailing /, this is exactly the same as a folder in a file system. So every time I call this or I hit this endpoint without the trailing /, it automatically puts the trailing / and redirects me to the canonical URL that I need. The second one, the about, is the endpoint without the trailing / and is similar to having a path name. So we specify the path and not a URL. If I put a / here when I'm hitting that endpoint or calling the endpoint, it's going to result to a not found error, which is always a 404 error. So the reason this routing happens like this is to help search engines avoid indexing the same page twice. Now this is like the basics of routing, and when we look at HTTP methods in the next lesson, we are going to create a working app with different routes to different pages. Thank you and see you in the next lesson.